Dear friends, welcome back. So today we have a very unique coach, unique in a way because he is an army veteran. Today I have a very dear friend and an army veteran, Vinod Thapliyal, with us. Thanks a lot for joining in for this conversation, Vinod.
Thank you, Kiran. Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. And let's jump in and have this unique conversation, which we are attempting to have it in a much normal conversation style that two individuals can have. So Vinod is a business leader and as mentioned, an army veteran. He's passionate about grooming successful leaders through coaching and sharing stories of his rich work experience of more than 3 decades. So with that, I request Vinod to share a little about himself and his maybe the army experience before we get into the questions. Over to Vinod.
Thanks, Kiran. Hello, everyone. As Kiran mentioned, I've spent about 2 decades in the army, and then I stepped over into the corporate world. And during this period, I have had a varied experience. I have, been in the engineering, infrastructure, even sports, and financial services and manufacturing sectors. And I've held a variety of roles.
Great. So one quick one, it came just in my mind. How did the progression from army to the coach happen?
You see, Kiran, an officer who gets commissioned into the army is a leader from the very first day. The moment you join an army unit, the officer is expected to lead a team of people. And, this leadership experience then builds over a period of time. Mm-hmm. Now, when I came across or rather got exposed to coaching, I realized that a lot of my experience relates very well to the field of coaching. And also this came at a time when I was now wanting to switch over to something where I can start giving back to people. And this was a great way for me to do that, to be able to give back in terms of a change that I can bring in people's lives.
It's fabulous. Great to hear that. I'm glad to have you as a coach in the coaching space. So with that, let's move to another thought. From where you see, who benefits from having a coach and how?
I would say anyone, who's wanting to grow personally, professionally, or as part of a team would benefit from coaching. And how I would answer that in 2 pieces. And let me take a sports analogy.
Sure.
So champion sports person, is very good at what he or she does, but still keeps a coach. And the main reason why he or she would do that would be because when a sports person is playing or doing whatever he or she is supposed to do, their effort would be to remain focused on that work. And there are a few areas which are not visible to this person. And a coach is able to see those blind spots and feed it back to this person, who then, incorporates that in their learning and then becomes better at it.
Right. So true. And in fact, that reminds me of a book I was asked to read while I was going through this coaching program, where I think it was mentioned, the coach, after the observation like what you shared, often leaves it to the coachee, or in this case, the sports person, and sees how the sports person takes it and finds his or her way. That book was about tennis or something is there. A gentleman who wrote several books in that series. And the in today's world, the coach, in fact, leaves it to the coachee after presenting that opportunity to them to come out with their own natural answer as to, okay, I would like to play it this way. And it has been proven, as stated in that book, that the coachee, in this case, the sports person, owned that opportunity and found an answer and was very happy and performed very well, rather than a prescriptive way where you say, aisa karo or do it this way. I think seems to be, even in the sports where you see coaching as something you're told to do this way, he seems to be moving in a way to allow the natural best of the sportsman to take over and lead from front. That comes to my mind when you share this example.
That's true, Kiran. And the other analogy that comes to my mind is of a dance in perfect harmony, where there are two people who are performing a dance, and it's like execution of this dance movement in a certain space, wherein the coach is just trying to hold the space, and both of them, they explore together.
Right. So Pablo, I think even in dance, so much stands out. The finest of that step doesn't come for everyone. I think the finest of the step comes from within that performer as well. The trainer in his capacity only said, this is how it's done. But the coachee, in this case, when the coach, there's no trainer, there's a coach level there, and then allows the trainee, or in this case, the performer, to bring out that finer element, which I think is only witnessed at the pinnacle of competition or at their prime best when they dance, as they say, dance as if no one is watching, kind of a. Great to hear that analogy and examples. So with that, let's look at some other aspect. How do you see, with the experience that you come with, that how leaders benefit by having a coach for themselves in a corporate world?
So there are two things, Kiran, here. One, of course, is that leaders can benefit from having a coach, which I think we discussed, but the leaders also benefit by being a coach or knowing what coaching is.
Correct.
And what comes to my mind is that as leaders grow, they have larger responsibilities and they have more things to handle.
Yeah.
And now, to be able to do that well, they need to move from doing it themselves to enabling others to do it for them. And coaching operates in the same space, wherein the coach is bringing out the strengths in the client so that the client does everything by himself or herself.
That's amazing. As you say itself, it's playing up on my mind. How if it was an Amazon or an Apple, if Steve Jobs was to do everything, or Jeff Bezos was to do everything, then I don't think these brands would have been where they are. So you aptly pointed out how, as you grow, it's about helping or enabling the others to take it and do it efficiently, effectively, in the best interest of the organization. And I think that cannot happen unless one leverages the coaching mindset, coaching skill set to lead their teams or to support their teams. Maybe that would be a better word.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's, I think, is a fabulous space to be in. And I think it's a must space for every leader. Otherwise, the leader will hit the ceiling very soon and find it probably completely next to impossible for them to lead larger teams. So in this context, any experience in the coaching space that you would like to share while taking care of the confidentiality aspect of it?
Yeah, I would share another experience and then related to coaching. So, during my time in the armed forces, I was given the task of clearing some minefields. Now, as you can imagine, that this is a high risk activity.
True.
And I had about 150 people with me who were supposed to do this work. And we didn't have any precedence of, clearing minefields in this type of a situation. Although there are, books and manuals which are available, but that's theoretical knowledge. And now on ground, when we've got to execute it, we need to devise our own ways of how to do it. And I didn't have all the answers with me, though soldiers are used to taking orders, so they would expect that, okay, they are told that this is how it's to be done, and then they will do it. But in this case, I realized that it wasn't possible for me to simply, give orders. I needed to find these answers.
So true.
So we just huddled together, all of us, and I shared with them that I don't know everything about this work, and that we will need to work together and find out. And to my pleasant surprise, some of the best ideas came from people who were the youngest in the team, the junior most, or the most people with least experience. And because of this, the other thing which happened is that everyone got that strong sense of ownership, that we all are together, we all are partners in this process. Amazing. And we were able to complete that work without any loss of lives or limbs or any material, So, and the way I link it to coaching is that as a coach, we don't have to have all the answers. And it's absolutely fine for us to be vulnerable and tell the client that I don't know. And, let's find it out together. Let's explore together.
Yeah. And I think, as you say that, in its best format of coaching, I think the coach is there with all the curiosity, awareness, and presence, and mostly it's the coachee who is sharing what comes to mind, hitting the wall if they were to hit a wall, and then start digging in, finding ways to answer and find answers for the situation. So I think it's amazing to see that how, as you shared, when the team came together to work on it as a team, the results were were pleasant, and there wasn't any loss of life or any sort. So that's a nice one to relate with. And I think in the coaching space, it probably gets only better because the coachee decides the course of direction with the coach who is accompanying and being there along with them through. So there's a sense of confidence that I will lead, the coachee is along with me, and to reflect, be curious, and provide that safe space where they can think aloud of all possibilities and share whatever comes to their mind.
Yes.
They'll be vulnerable. And I think the coach also at one point can easily say, okay, sometimes the coach asks, okay, I need help with this. And the coach probably only reflects, okay, what comes to your mind when you are reaching out to me or one seeking help. I think then they realize how resourceful they themselves are also.
Yes.
Great. So with that, that also brings to my thought of another aspect. The world has so many coaches from history to present, and I'm sure there'll be many more. One coach from your lifetime's experience who stands out for you or stood out for you?
I would tell you about an eternal coach, or I'm talking about Bhagavad Gita, which is a conversation between Krishna and Arjun. And I call it a divine coaching conversation between the two of them. There's so much of wisdom in that conversation. And when you're asking me if any coach comes to my mind, I actually thought about the entire conversation between Krishna and Arjun.
I think it's very interesting answer actually indeed. And it connects a lot with often a term that comes when coaches speak about about a coaching space, that it's a divine, you can say, intervention or an experience. And also, as you said, the coach provides that sacred space. I think this very clearly reflects with what happened in Bhagavad Gita as you're sharing. It comes to my mind as to that was also a sacred space, probably at its best, because you are the Almighty there and filled with divinity. And I think one who reads that conversation happening definitely would feel that, and that's where it seems to be it's coming for you. Amazing, amazing way to relate with one of the best coaches of all time. Great.
Yeah.
So with that, we are kind of coming towards the end of the conversation, but then conversation is not over until something very important is explored and heard from you as a coach, as someone who has spent some time being a coach. There are many who would like to come into this space and become one. From your experience so far, what's that one advice for these individuals who would like to explore coaching as a profession or something that they would like to do going forward?
Well, Kiran, I can only share my experience.
Sure.
And what I would say is that we call this as a coaching journey, and therefore it's a journey. It needs to be dealt with a lot of patience and various credentials or certifications and qualifications. They are milestones in this journey. And what I also experienced is that in order to bring about a change in other people's lives, I need to allow myself to change. So that's what comes to my mind, Kiran.
Fabulous. I think as you are sharing, I was making notes. Credentials, I think, as you said, they are just milestones to conclude the process structure. And I think a lot happens indeed after that. And that journey definitely has to have a lot of patience and commitment and involvement as they, and you said it's a journey with no end or a journey without a destination. I think this is something that coaches, the wannabe coaches, will benefit by being clear about it. So there are no surprises. And I think last but not the least, while you share this, it again reflects, comes to my mind, that line that one cannot be along or take someone where they haven't traveled. Because often in coaching conversation, it's said, if you haven't gone that far, which brings the onus on the coach to go as far as they can go as in that coaching journey. And it also comes back, maybe I would like to hear from you, is unlike any other profession, coaching is all about that one individual. Whereas in other professions, often you have the luxury of being one at work and being one outside that area. Whereas in coaching, it's now clear it's that one identity of you as a coach, with all the authenticity, vulnerability, and progress that you have achieved and willing to make further progress on a daily basis. What comes to your mind when you relate with this another profession where you can be two different individuals on the show of the show kind of, or on the profession of the profession, but what happens when it comes to coaching?
No, you are right, Kiran. Coaching, you got to be the same person. But I would extend it further, even in other professions. From inside, you got to be the same person. It's very hard for us to be two different people and be true to us. So if one's got to be true to themselves, then they've got to be their original self, wherever they are.
So true. I think that seems to be the best space to be in. So there's no effort to be anything different from what you actually are, your authentic best, your natural best. And I think rest will be That much, I think that much percentage of effort is saved. Imagine 50-50,
Absolutely.
100. I think the 100 any given day is something there you want to belong to, rather than breaking it into pieces and being different things to different people or different places. So great.
Yeah.
That's very nice to hear from you. So with that, we come towards the end of the conversation on the with the questions and as well as the advice for the wannabe coaches. So before we wind up, for those audience who would like to get in touch with you for a conversation, what's the easiest way to reach Vinod?
I'm on LinkedIn, and I would suggest that that's the easiest way to reach me.
I'll go ahead and share that in the description section as well. And it was fantastic to have you in this conversation. And for the audience, if you have any comments or questions on this conversation, or even otherwise, you can share it in the drop a line in the comment section. Me or Vinod will definitely come back to you with a response. That's our promise. And if you have liked the conversation, please go ahead and hit the like. That's how we get to know that you have liked this conversation. And also share this link with anyone who you feel will benefit from watching and listening to this conversation. And do subscribe so that you get the notification whenever there is a new video that gets uploaded onto the channel. And with that, we come to the end of the conversation. Thanks a lot for being there watching the conversation, and please be safe and keep smiling. Thank you very much. And thanks a lot to Vinod once again for joining the conversation today.
Thank you, Kiran. Pleasure being here.
Same here, Vinod. Thanks a ton.